but in many ways the same message concerning domestic violence and sexual assault. I'd like to say that those problems are going away, but I'd be lying to myself as well as to you, because they are not. But hopefully something that is said, something that is done this morning may not be the beginning of the end, but hopefully it'll be the end of the beginning. And we can begin to see a decrease in this. But it's going to take everybody, black and white, man and woman, rich and poor, right side, wrong side of the track, working together if we're going to put a stop to this. And I had been to the barber shop the other day, and somebody asked me what we're going to do this coming Sunday. He said, "What are you preaching on?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm not preaching." And I told them what we're going to be doing, and the guy asked me, he said, "Well, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." And he said, "Do you think that this is a problem, basically a female problem, as far as the victim is always female?" And I said, "No, it's not the case. There are men who are also assaulted and are the victims of domestic violence. So it's a problem across the board, and it needs to be stopped. And to be honest with you, with the help of the Lord Jesus Christ, it can be. And we need to be the instruments by which that is done." Now, in a few minutes, Karen's going to come, and one of the things that she's going to do at the beginning, I'm not trying to steal her thunder, but I need you to understand something. We're going to play a video, and I'll let her explain it and everything, but I will tell you this. We just got the internet hooked up out here the other day, okay? We've still got a couple of bugs that need to be straightened out with that. Matter of fact, Steve Culp will hopefully be here tomorrow or Tuesday because we can get a good picture or good sound, but we can't seem to get both at the same time. So here's what we've done to alleviate that problem. Rather than running this particular video through the speakers, which I can't do without you, if you're going to be able to see it, I can't do it that way. It's going to run through the little speaker that's on the video projector, okay? Now the video projector speaker, of course, is not nearly as loud as these are. So I guess what I'm trying to say is when it comes time to turn that on, you're going to need to be really, really quiet so you can hear that, okay? It's loud enough, but if there's any, ambient noise going on, it'll be to the point to where people won't be able to hear what it is, and you need to do that, okay? Also, I'm going to tell you this. At the end, and she'll explain this, but because of the nature of the video, there is a brief expletive at the very end of this thing. And there's no way to erase that, and of course it's just because of the pressure of the moment in which they are in. So I don't want anybody standing on their head, because, that kind of thing, all right? So let's take a minute and pray for them, and then I'm going to let Miss Karen and Brother Landric come and share with us. Okay, would you bow with me, please? Father, this is something that I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way. I wish we didn't have to talk about what we're about to talk about, because I wish this was not an issue. I wish it was not a problem. I wish it was not a burden in our community or in any other community. I wish it was the point that today we could say, you remember when domestic violence and sexual assault was a problem, but it's been 25 years and it's basically just gone away. But Father, that's not the case. It grows worse with every passing day. And we cannot bury our heads in the sand and pretend that it's just going to disappear, because it will not. Somebody has to do something. And that somebody needs to begin with us today. But in order for us to be able to do something to combat the problem, And to right the wrong, we need to be educated. We need to fully understand what it is that we're up against and what it is that these people go through on a daily basis. So, Father, I pray your blessings upon Karen and Landric today as they will come and share. I thank you for them taking time out of their busy schedules and coming today to share with us from this time and from this pulpit. I pray, God, that you will bless them, and encourage them, and strengthen them, and use them, not only here, but most especially when they're away from here and they're doing their respective jobs. I pray that you'd watch over them. I pray, God, that you would strengthen them. I pray, dear God, that you would protect them, because domestic violence and sexual assault are very dangerous situations to be involved in. And yet there's the potential that they could be involved in that before this day is out. And they could be involved in that even several times before this day is out. So, Father, I plead the blood of Jesus over them and over all the people that are working with them in regard to these things. Pray, God, your divine hand would be upon them, that you would use them and protect them. And we'll thank you and praise you. These things we ask in the precious name of Jesus, our Savior. Amen.
Speaking for people that I'm always with, or around all the time, but I am the director here of domestic violence. I've been here in Anson going on 10 years now with the domestic violence agency and our sexual assault here. I was an advocate for 6 years here. Prior to that, I was with Baucom County with their DV unit, and also I was in the court system. That's how I got involved in all this. Basically, what we're going to start this off with is, a lot of times we say, why should I worry about domestic violence? It doesn't affect me. I don't know no one that's in it. There's a cycle of domestic violence. And I like to start this off with a girl's story. The tape we're about to hear, for parents in here, it is very disturbing. We're going to be listening to a 6-year-old girl calling 911. And there's violence going on. So I like to start because it really tells you what Landric and them are dealing with and what we're dealing with every day in this county. So if you'll start this off, this is called Lisa's story. And at this call, she's 6 years old. At that time, that was back in 91, she was 6 years old. Lisa now is in her 30s. I met Lisa 6 years ago at a conference. She never knew that her tape was being used to educate people on domestic violence. Her mama signed this tape way years ago. But to tell you where, it started with a woman named Kit that started with this 911 call. And years, she's from Raleigh, and she said, I wonder what ever happened to Lisa. I wonder what happened to her. So she found her. And she found her in a domestic violence shelter. And in her 20s with 2 kids. What that's showing is the cycle. We talked with Lisa and we said, what happened after this night? What happened? Well, that was one of 30 more calls. She said nothing. He came back. You know, her mother's still in an abusive relationship. The small children, she said he knocked my sister out. She's in prison from drugs. The baby that he took that night, he's in jail. Lisa got into an abusive relationship, had 2 children. She went to a shelter when Kit found her. Kit helped her get out of this abusive relationship. And Lisa is now not in an abusive relationship. She's doing great. She's an advocate, but she's 31. But she said, this is the cycle. This is what we deal with here in this county. You know, Landric can tell you on a monthly basis how many calls we're getting in here. The one thing, like I said, a lot of y'all don't know, Anson County is lucky because we're the only agency that provides a first responding team in North Carolina. Anson's the only one that has a first responding team. What that means is my advocates, we respond on a 24-hour basis to the 911 calls. Once they receive the call, the officer goes out and he handles it. If they're coming in to do the charges to the magistrate, or they're having to take the victim to the hospital, they'll tell dispatch, call domestic violence in. We have to go in. Matter of fact, Friday night, I didn't get home till 10:30 because I had to take the victim all the way to Wilmington. This was my third time taking her. She's 4 months pregnant. The baby's already damaged from him hitting her in her stomach. The baby has swallowed blood. You know, this is my third time taking her back to her mama. She will probably come back because by the time I got there, he was already texting her. We locked him up, what, Thursday night? For violating his release of conditions, of going and getting her from Wilmington. There's only so much we can do. And is it frustrating? Yes. It's very frustrating to us. Because statistics show that a woman, and when I speak of victims, I say woman because that is the majority of our victims, but I do work with men, and I will talk about that a little bit later, about the men we work with and the difference between the two. But when I say women, I'm not just saying that's all we have is women victims, because that's not the truth. But since that's majority, it's like that's the one they use. So, but they will leave. Statistics show that a woman will leave 9 or 10 times before they actually stay home from the domestic violence. And sometimes that's not even the truth. I tell people with my story behind it, I was raised in domestic violence. That's why my passion's where it is. My parents are still together. Does he beat her anymore? No. But up till the age of 18, he beat her every weekend. And I would have to call him. When he was drunk, he would call me as 911 because I was the one I was calling the police. So this is why my passion's where it is. And I'll let Landric share some of his also on that. But the other thing I'm going to do, because I want y'all to get the impact of how domestic violence is. Okay, I'm going to count people off out of 5. Okay, and I just need you to listen to your number that I give you when I count you. Okay, we're going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay? If you were a number 3, I need you to stand up. If you were a number 3, if this was the population in the United States right now, by the end of this service, this is how many victims of domestic violence we're going to have within an hour. Okay? Let's see. If you were a number 5, I need you to stand. This is how many victims in the United States is going to be raped by the end of this service in the United States. Okay, thank you. I think that's an impact to show you the numbers that we're having. My service, last month, we called it a slow month, and that sounds like a hard word to say, but it was slow for us on domestic violence, and that's a good month for us. We only had 26 victims that month, last month. Okay? That sounds like a lot to y'all, but that's low. So we're like, okay, that was only 26. Because we usually average 55 to 63 a month in this county of domestic violence calls. Now the numbers are higher because a lot of times the victims don't want to work with us. So I'll let Landric, Landric, do you know what y'all are getting monthly on your 911 calls in? I think it's about an average because our numbers are usually the same because they usually call us on every call whether the victim wants us there or not. You know, because we don't have to have permission to speak with the victim. We have a right, that's the victim's right to have an advocate available. Like I said, Anson County's lucky because we're the only county that provides that service. You know, that when that 911 call comes out, we are there. So that's one of the good things. We usually don't go with the officers on the call. It has happened, but it's usually because there's children there that they can't transport. There's too many of them, and they'll say, can you come on scene? And we've got kids, we've got to get out of here. That's the saddest thing in the world to me at 2 o'clock in the morning, and these children sitting down in the magistrate's office. and they got to get up and go to school the next day. You know, that's a whole nother issue we have in our school system. You have kids that are acting out and bullying, and we think they're just bad children. I can bet you probably 1 out of every 5 of them bad children, they're living in domestic violence. And that's why they're acting out at school. You know, so we have to look at the big picture. This is how it affects us. You know, it's like you said, someone reached out to her. And I know when you said the name, I know who you're talking about. I know exactly who you're talking about.
I think I've talked to you the other day.
Yeah, I know who she is. You know, and the good thing, I have victims that we have worked with, and I will share some success stories with y'all, because sometimes it's very frustrating. We talk about they keep going back, and that's the frustrating part. But there is success after domestic violence, and I'm going to share a couple of them. I'm going to let Landric speak for a little bit, because I seem to take over sometimes. And I think my husband will tell you I'm very bossy, as he says. So I'm going to let Landric speak, so I take all the time, and I will finish up with it.
Thank you, Karen. And she's who we're here for, to support Karen and the Domestic Violence Coalition here in Anson County. First of all, what I like to do is give honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Because without Him, nothing is possible for me. The story of Lisa, that's the first time I've heard that. And I had to turn away and think about something else, because it brings tears to anyone's eyes. And I think at the end, Miss Karen was talking about the different children that was in the house. It affected them in a way that the outcome of their life, it affected. We need to continue to be serious about domestic violence. I've seen a lot. I've seen someone hit a case, one of my first cases, after becoming sheriff, one of the worst cases I've seen of domestic violence. I've been involved in that case personally. That person had my cell phone number. She can call me anytime she wants to. If anything goes wrong, she hear anything at our house, she calls us and we're there, because we're serious about domestic violence. Some of you, and I think Ms. Karen may talk about this later, but we have a lot of young people in here. Domestic violence sometimes starts with your little boyfriend or little girlfriend, whichever it may be. Don't let anyone touch you in a way that they shouldn't be touching you. Don't let anyone put their hands on you, young ladies. Don't let a young man put his hands on you. Domestic violence is really, really, really bad. It leads to things that's not good at all. And like I said, we're here for Miss Karen. Anyone here in this church that's hearing us right now that you may have a friend that's involved, or you may know someone involved, get in touch. I have an open door policy. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with Miss Karen. If you're wrong, no harm, no foul done if you're wrong, but if you're right, we need to be involved in it. You know, sometimes the abuser may just need help, may need to be counseled, may need to talk to a pastor. And the pastor was 100% right when he said that domestic violence don't have a color, don't matter which side of the track you live on, don't matter what your last name is. None of that matters. Domestic violence do not discriminate. So we really, really, really need to be involved, because if this tape didn't send a message, I don't know what will. But that sent a loud message to me, Lisa. And you could tell the way that she was talking on the tape that she's witnessed that before. It wasn't the first time. It may not even been the first time she's called 911, but you could listen to her talk. She gave a good description of what was going on. She gave a description that we teach police officers to give. I guarantee you if the 911 operator would ask her, what do you follow, how long, she would have gave a good description. She's seen it and she's had enough. No one will beat my mother. She used the word a lot, they're fighting. But it was clear that Daddy was beating Mother, knocked out little sister. You know, it was clear what was going on there. But we need to continue to make this a priority. Sexual assault also is mentioned. No means no. Don't let no one touch you. I'm talking to our young ladies again. Don't let no one touch you in the way that you don't want them to touch you. You make your own decisions. But you're all, right now, you're all in a good place. You're all here in church. And it's a blessing. I've been to a lot of churches, and I usually don't see as many young people in church. And this is a blessing. It means that you care. It means that you're being raised by people that care about you. Just keep up. Whatever blessings you receive them. And just keep up good work. And let me just quickly, and I'm like Cameron said, sometimes I try to take over too. But when we decided to do this together, Karen came and asked me would I like to come, and I, without hesitation, said I would. Because one thing, as of December 1st, 2014, one thing I have done, I have worked with Karen and her ladies real close. And I will continue to work with them real close. Anything they need, the Anson County Sheriff's Office will be there to help them with. But just briefly about myself, I was born and raised in Concord, North Carolina. I spent 4 years in the Army, 2 years National Guard, spent over 24 years as a North Carolina State Trooper before I was elected sheriff. Worked as a research assistant in the Research Triangle Park. So I've been from California to Wilmington, which I-40 takes you from California to Barstow, California to Wilmington. I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things. When I was a young man, I witnessed some of that same stuff. My father beat my mother. The way she got away from him beating her, she moved all the way to New Jersey. That's how she got away from it. Was she right by doing that? Yes. She left me and my brothers, my sisters with my father. But she done what she done to survive. And we all turned out good. So that's a blessing. And that's why I tell people, I've been blessed for over 50 years. There's things I seen when I was young. I seen my father beat my mother. I've never hit a woman in my life, even on the job. I've watched my daddy drink. I never drank in my life. Daddy long smoke, never done that. So I've been blessed, you know, and to the young kids, one thing that I say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
That's right.
So make a stance for what you believe in, and don't fall for domestic violence. Don't fall for drugs. Don't fall for smoking, drinking. And if I can say, a lot of times when you have domestic violence, you do have drinking, you have drugs, you have a lot of other things involved. That's not an excuse, but it's there. So I'm going to hand it back over to Karen, and when she needs me to say something, she'll tell me. This is her program. This is her baby, as they call it. Karen loves what she does, and like I say, we all need to support her in domestic violence because it's getting, some cases we've seen have been really, really bad. Really, really bad. And I'm talking before December the 1st, 2014. I've seen some cases in this county that's really, really bad. So if you want to talk to Karen, you can talk to Karen, you can talk to me, you can talk to both of us. Because some things I may have to take care of, some things Karen will take care of. So, but we're there, we're taking it serious. We take it serious because you may not have heard from them since Friday. Do you ever wonder why you haven't heard from them since Friday? Some of the things that could have happened?
Yeah, because after I first started talking to her, she would talk to me all day, all during the day, and tell me how much better she felt, and she knew she had somebody who cared. And I told her that I had a lot of Christian family at his church who were good people who would pray for her and that who would help her. I was trying to get her in the church, but I don't know if she was a boy because she knew she wanted to come to church, or if he's done something to her. I don't know what. I don't know.
And that's a true story. That's a story you're hearing not from me, not from Karen, but someone that's going through it. So, and that's why I ask you that. We appreciate you sharing that with us, because that's what this program is about. And I'm sure if anyone else have anything to share, Karen would allow you to. But I'm gonna turn it back over to Karen, so I won't talk too much, because I tell people before I became a politician, I hardly ever talk. But now I'm a politician, I talk too much. So.
All right, the one thing I heard a lot, I hear a lot of this, and it really, I get ill sometimes. And one time I was testifying as an expert witness in Superior Court on a case, and I got very ill. They asked, why does she stay? And for some reason that day in that courtroom, that made me mad, because the defense attorney was asking me. She's done been back 10 times. Must not be that bad, he said. I had a jury sitting over here. And I looked at him dead in his face and I said, why aren't you asking why he's getting her? Why are we asking a victim, why do you stay? And I thought about that, and I've had all these answers all these years of me doing this. They'd come back with all these answers. And the easiest thing for me, one day, I'd heard this several times, but one day it hit me really hard, and it was a simple answer. When victims of domestic violence call 911, they don't want to leave their abuser. They want the abuse to stop. That's all they want. And it's that simple. They don't want to leave the abuser. They want the abuse to stop. That's why they stay. It's that simple. Just with child abuse. You see these kids and they don't want to leave mom and daddy. They love their mom and dad. They want the abuse to stop. Same thing with the victim of domestic violence. Domestic violence is about one thing and one thing only: control. That's all it's about, is control. And when I talk to youth, we're very lucky that we're at the schools. We're at the middle school, high school only, and like New Tech, we go there in the early college at lunchtime. Every Thursday, we rotate from one of the schools. We have a little table set up, and we have information on safe dating, on the date rape drugs, about domestic violence, living in it, how you can get help. We give out pencils and things, and the kids will come to our tables, and they talk to us. We give bracelets. We had book bags last year that we gave to some kids, and they'd want the prizes, but they had to come answer something before we give them a prize, so. But they know who the girls are out there in the purple scrubs, that them were domestic violence and sexual assault. Since being in the schools, we have learned a lot of things from the youth in this county. When we first started this 4 years ago, wasn't probably 2 weeks, we had a youth come to us and said they need to talk to us. Somebody was running prostitutes out of high school, was picking the girls up when they got off the bus and taking them away from the school. We let the sheriff know they caught him. Then we had a teenager tell us that these tattoo parties that are going around in this county, and you're like, what's a tattoo party? Tattoo artists will come to someone's house. They'll spread the word out there. Women, when we have the pocketbook parties, this is what a tattoo party is. We get the word out. Somebody live here with pocketbooks. There's a tattoo person here. They come, they get the tattoos, they pay in cash to someone at someone's house. Girls were getting raped, young girls. Because he didn't care that they were 16, 14, or 15. He was giving them tattoos. As long as they had the money. Well, these young girls were getting raped at these houses. We stopped it because of a teenager coming and telling us. We get these a lot of times. And I'm going to tell you something. They talk about women scorned. When women are mad and hurt, they talk. I don't know how many drug things we have hit his way because they are mad. What's going on at this house and what they're doing here and who they're selling to. They will talk and talk and talk. But the one thing about our agency is our victims come first. If they don't sign a release for me to talk to someone or even talk to the officers when I come, the officer can say, okay, she's sitting here with a black guy, who did it? If she hasn't signed that release, I can't tell you. Because I'm bound by law just like an attorney. So until that victim signs that release, I can't tell the cops what's going on. Unless someone's life is in danger of being killed, or if a child is in danger, is the only way legally I can break that. Most of the time I don't have a problem with the victim signing the release, because they want someone else to be their voice. They want to blame it on us that we made them do it, and that's fine, I have no problems with that. We have new laws now trying to take it away from the victims. Had a case the other night. It was Thursday night I got called out, about 7:30. Went down there to the magistrate, had a guy and a girl, and both of them have black eyes. Both of them. And so I don't treat anyone no different. So first I started working with the male. And I said, what happened? And he would have dropped his pride. Oh no, we was just wrestling. She didn't hit me. Now he's sitting there like this the whole time, because the eye's so swollen that it was swollen shut. And I was looking at him, and I said, really? Then why you got a black eye? I probably just hit it. I said, no, she hit you in your eye. I said, this is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this for over 20 years. Oh, so you can tell a fist hit? I said, yep, and that's a fist hit. You know, if not, it was an elbow. If his eye was swollen shut. So he didn't want to do anything. He said it was over because he took some money, her tax money, and went and put his baby mama's tattoo on his chest. That's not his baby mama that was in that magistrate's office, by the way. So he had put the other girl's name. So I go in there and talk to her. Now, needless to say, he is out on bond, the male. From August, she says, if there is obvious signs of domestic violence, law enforcement must arrest. We didn't know whose story is what. Both of them got charged. Okay? All I can tell her is, please, and this county's bad. You know, 2 years ago we lost someone in this county. Her name was Daisy Melton. She was killed in Morgan. And her boyfriend was killed. Sad thing is, the person that killed her, he done 15 years for killing his first wife. Just got out. Not too long. You probably know about that one.
It was in December to the murder of those cases. I looked in his face, no remorse whatsoever. He'd get out, he'll do it again. Trust me, he'll do it again. That's why we need to, when we vote for our judges, our legislators, we need to vote for people that's going to take a stance against domestic violence.
That's right.
But I looked in his face. I stood there and stared at him. When the daughter was on the stand,
Shayna.
when she was on the stand talking to him, she looked directly at him. No remorse. She told him, if I may just share one thing that she told him, she said, you killed my mother for what? Just because she loved you. That's why you killed her. And she told him, she said, my mother never taught me to hate nobody. So I don't hate you. But I hope you never get out of jail again. She said, my mother loved you more than anything. And how did you pay her back? Those are the things, I didn't mean to interrupt, but those are the things that Karen and I see all the time. We look in the fact the victims' faces, if they survive. We look in the family, the kids, like little Lisa there. We get to look in their faces and see how this affects them. We see a lot of things, and for every case that she talked about that Mel came to court, there's no telling how many that never even picked up that phone to call, because like Carol said, the biggest issue that the abuser have is control. And then the one that's being assaulted feel, I love him. he'll stop soon. I'll love him enough that he'll stop doing it. But it only gets worse till the case that she just spoke of. Killed her because he had wanted to have nobody else. Killed the boyfriend because he was there. Those are the things that we deal with. If you see anything, I've been doing community meetings in the county, and one of the things I talk about, and the older generation understand what I'm about to say, the nosy neighbors. You remember the nosy neighbors from years ago? We call them nosy neighbors because they knew everything that was going on in their neighborhood. They see a truck in the yard that didn't supposed to be there, they pick up the phone. We need those folks back. Look out for your neighborhood. If your neighbor have a problem, sometimes you can hear them fighting and fussing in the house next door. Give us a call. Let us do our job, and let us earn trust. You know, community policing is a partnership between the Anson County Sheriff's Office and the community that we serve. Let us serve you. You see it, call us. And I can guarantee you we're gonna respond. We're in zones where we can respond quicker. We can respond better. Monday, we had served every warrant that the Anson County Sheriff's Office had. Every piece of paper we had served. Something that's probably never happened before. But they're in zones and they're taking pride in going out in these zones doing work, meeting the people in their zones. People tell me I've never seen a deputy in my neighborhood, but I'm seeing them now. Let's get involved in our neighborhood. Let's take our neighborhood back. And as we're here today, domestic violence is something that we all need to fight. The case that I talked about earlier, one of the worst ones I've seen, it took every prayer in me not to want to respond to that gentleman whenever he got in front of me. You know, but I know what I have to do. I know that me doing something or anybody else doing something is not right. Let's let the court system take care of it. But when you hurt a wife, kids, in a way try to kill them all, I take that personal. Miss Karen takes it personal. You know, we have a job to do, and I can tell you Miss Karen does her job. She does it well. The ladies at her coalition, they do their job and they do it well. So we need to just continue to support them. And she was telling you earlier how special this county is with their program. But programs like that don't go without money. So anytime you want to give a monetary donation to the domestic violence program, please do it. Please do it. And I tell you right now, I'm going to pledge to give you $100 Monday. And I'm not doing that just to do it. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. You got to back it up. You got to back it up. Let's support domestic violence.
And a little bit about our agency, how we're funded. We are a nonprofit. We don't make a profit whatsoever. We are state and federally funded by grants. We are very lucky so far. The 5 grants that I get from the state and from the federal government has not been cut yet. We did lose $14,000 a couple of years in what we call TANF funding. Now that funding was very important to us because that's what helped us help victims stay in their home or relocate them or buy food, things to help the victim get on their feet again for a couple of months. They cut that, we call TANF funding. They cut it completely out. That was $13,000 in my budget that I had to cut. And so we've had to add that in and take away from other services that we provide. You know, so I don't get more money. There's a set amount. We get, from Council for Women, we get 4 grants. We get sexual assault money, domestic violence. We get marriage license funds. What that means, when you apply for that marriage license in North Carolina, then they'll take the money that comes in from marriage license and divide it between 124 agencies. Same with just this year, we're getting divorce filing fees. Now that brought an extra $20,000 this year to my agency, which is wonderful. Because not only do we provide the services, but it's also a business. I have to pay workers' comp. I have to pay bonding insurance. I have to pay all this other stuff to run a business that is necessary to keep the doors open. That's a cost. We have advocates that, like I said, we're working 24 hours. A lot of times we don't get paid for that. I didn't get paid for being out till 10:30 that night. I'm what they call salary. I get paid, if I work 40 hours, or if I don't work 40, I get paid that one amount of money. As of right now, we will not get no more raises because my money doesn't increase, it stays the same. I can't give no more to my staff for that. I can't add more staff because I'm at the line for our services that we provide. And that's not a bad thing, we give all our services, but I try to tell people what we do, there's no more money coming. We don't increase our funds every year, so what we provide right now, that's all we can. So when we can get extra money, it always helps, especially what we call direct services. We don't have a shelter in this county, and there's a reason for it. My board of directors, I'm overseen by, I have 14 board members. Landric is one of them. I have to report to them every month. And I have to tell them everything that's going on, show financial records, receipts, everything of what we're doing. I also report to the county here. Our county, what they have done has been wonderful for our agency. Because we're grant funded, our grants run on a cycle from July to June. But when they're supposed to start July 1st, they won't start till January. So from July to January, there is no money coming to my agency. How am I supposed to keep the doors open? So we went to the county, and the county said, well, you know what we'll do? We will look at your budget, and we'll cut you a check every month so the job can keep going. And at that time, Tommy was the sheriff, and he went to the county with us to say, we can't survive as law enforcement without this agency here. We can't do it. So the county, what they do now is they basically front us money. But when my grant money comes in, I turn it over to them. So therefore, I have to report everything to them also. So not only do I have the county looking over our agency, we have board of directors, plus we get audited. So when your funds come here, I like to tell people this so they want them to know your money's being used for what we said it's being used for. You know, when I first started working here in 2006, I hadn't been there, what, David, a month, 2 months, and I knew stuff went right. I knew money was being stolen from the. You know how important funding is for us in this county. We were talking about this, about the churches and what does churches do. I have reached out to churches several times. You know, I've sent letters. I have said if every church in this county would give us $100 a year is all we ask. We wouldn't have to go have barbecues and try to raise funds, because I have to also, with these grants, I have to match them by 20%. So that's cash money that I have to come up with, you know, and I don't like begging people for money. That's not one of my things that I like doing. We just had the barbecue, and Ms. Barbara will tell you, we worked our hinds off there with Ms. Barbara. Yeah. To let y'all know, we sold out by 12 o'clock. I had to go buy a barbecue because I had plates still fixed. And we raised $4,000. Wonderful money for us. But we need, probably in funds and donations, we need about $30,000 a year. Danette Streeter. Did anyone know Danette Streeter in this community? She was murdered here. She has a family. Jerome, I hope, is going to be a big, big help with us on this. It's called Men for Change. And it gives men a voice when it comes to domestic violence in this county. What we do, and this runs on Father's Day for us, it's a pledge that we ask men to take. And what we ask our men to do that join this, we meet twice with these men, and we'll feed you when we ask you to come. We give you these little slips. We have everything ready for you. You go out and you ask me to take a $5 or a $10 pledge to stand up against domestic violence and sexual assault and say no more. And what this does, on Father's Day, we put an insert into the Express. Has anyone seen this on Father's Day, the Express paper? We've done it for 3 years now. And it's a pledge that men take. And for $5, you will get your name in the paper. For $10, you can have, I'll use David as an example, it says David Baucom in honor of Karen and Brooke Baucom. We've had some people, their moms passed, put it in memory of. PD will send us a $50 check, because a business we ask for $25 or $50. for their lineman will take the pledge. And this is all done by men. We give these slips to men and say, you go out and you promote this and you get the pledges. And it has to be turned into us at a certain time. Now, as I said, usually Forbes Jewelry will donate a men's dress watch for the man that does the most pledges. You know, I think Sam Cassius won it one year of Supreme Dental. I think he ended up getting like $2,500 in pledges. I think a magistrate won it 1 year. I forgot who won it the first year. I think it was Randy Henry with the Sheriff's Department detective. He won it. I think that was the 3 men. So, but this is all driven by the men, you know. And I'd like to see. I remember one pastor came to me that was involved in it, and he was just so upset. He said, "I can't get any of my men in the church to do it. I can't. They won't. I've said it, and no one's coming and doing it. You know, $5 is not a lot to take a pledge as a man and say no more. I stand up, and I'm going to say there's no more violence. Because most of the time it's a woman's issue. You see women talking about it. You know, but I can about bet there's men in here that'll say, I want to talk about it, and I want to say I don't agree with it. No one should be putting their hands on someone. And it gives you that voice. But we'll be working on this soon. I'm sure Jerome will be hitting off Cal up because we're going to ask him to be part of that committee. But that's 2 of the fundraisers that we usually do here in this community. So I'm not asking people constantly for funds. But is it enough? Not sometimes. Because usually come June, I'm having to tell victims I don't have any funds to help them. What we do with our funds, since we don't have a shelter, I only shelter maybe 10 victims a year that want to go in shelters. Most of the time they don't want to go in a shelter. They just don't. Now you have some that will want to go in the shelter to start their life over because it's a free place to stay. You have resources to help you, and there's not a time limit. You know, you have time to heal inside and out and try to financially get back on your feet. And what I do is I have contracts with Monroe, Albemarle, Laurinburg, Rockingham. We have contracts with all of them that they'll take our victims. But like I said, about 10 victims a year is all I'm taking to the shelters. So I would rather keep that money here because to run it, if I open a shelter here, our first responding team is gone. We will have no financial assistance to help them get out of the shelter. I'll be able to run a shelter and that's all I can do with it. It's not worth that to us. So that's why we don't have a shelter. Plus, who's not going to know there's a domestic violence shelter? Anson County talks. Everybody's going to know where it is. So how am I going to keep them safe? You know, so that's why we don't have one here. With our funds, what we do a lot is a victim might come in and one of the reasons they won't leave is I can't afford it on my own. Okay? Let's relocate you somewhere you can afford. And sometimes that might mean I have to put her in a shelter for a week till we find that place. You know, and what we can do is come up with a deposit, first month's rent, turn on her power, turn on her water, give her the groceries to get in. That's a lot of times when we tell you the items you're giving us, donating us. We have a store inside of my office that is only for the victims and it's all free. And they can come in there and get things as they wanted, the shampoo. The reason we say shampoo, toothpaste, all that stuff, if we are rushing them in the middle of the night, they're good to grab. But that's also stuff food stamps does not buy. So if they have food stamps, this is items they can't buy with food stamps. So they can have that and don't have to worry about trying to get it. A trash can, a dish strainer, a broom, a mop. When you're starting over, ladies, we know these are the things we have to have. You know, this is stuff that they have to start over a lot. I'm going to share one success story with you. This was a case to use her story. I was going to show the pictures of her abuse because I do that sometimes with the youth, but they're extremely too graphic, I think, with children and stuff, so I didn't bring the pictures today to show. This victim, her name is Michelle. I met Michelle in 2006 when I first started here. Really, I didn't meet her. The advocate that was here had just worked with her and was having a hard time. And she told me that she had worked with this girl. Her boyfriend had slit her throat and broke 3 of her ribs. And she was supposed to come in Monday for the restraining order. So we waited that Monday, she never showed. Tuesday morning, we got a call from the sheriff's department. They'd gotten into it Monday night, so he found out that she had come to us. And he had threw lighter fluid on her and burned 80% of her body. She was in Raleigh at the burn center. Well, this process went on, trying to help her. This time we reached out to the Raleigh advocates to work with her up there. And so they were working with her up there and stuff, and she couldn't remember what happened, from that. They prosecuted him for assault. I think that's all they could get on him, and he served 3 months. That was it. That was it. After she got out of the burn center and all, she came back here. Now, I understand that Michelle has no family. Her children really don't have anything to do with her because she's always sort of chosen men over her children. She's never been in healthy relationships. At this time, she was 49 when this happened. That was the last I saw, was 49. But as of today, she's 51. But she went back into the relationship. Since those 6, we had seen her a lot. She would come in, black eyes. And I'm going to call you. I'm going to be ready. She come in one time. We had made a whole plan about getting her out because he was going to be gone. We were going to rent a U-Haul. We was going to do all this stuff. We were going to get her out. She didn't show. She would call. She was going to a church in Lisle, and one of our advocates was going there, and she would tell her, I'm going to call you because I'm ready to get out. She would see the bruises, the black eyes on her constantly. I always would tell her story prior to this, but I would never say her name, and I'd always say she'll be one that we bury. Because I knew she was gone, he would kill her. And I knew the next call I would get, it would be serious, because she wasn't going to call the police until it was really serious. Well, 3 years ago, it was probably 9 o'clock at night, and the advocate was on call, and she called me, and she said, you need to get to the hospital, Michelle's there. I knew it was bad if Michelle was at the hospital. So we get to, now this was in the morning, I'm sorry, it was morning time when I got the call. And so we went to the hospital that morning, and I got there, and this was the worst I had, probably here is the worst beating I had seen in this county. It had started that night. They were at a friend's, and they were doing drugs. They were drinking. They left because he started getting mouthy. She knew the signs, it was coming, so she went on home. He had a car follow her and picked her up and slapped her on the road then took her into the house. Even the guy that took them knew that she was in there. She said, you need me to hang around? She was like, no. She said, I knew I was going to get beat. I was just hoping I could calm him down enough that it wouldn't be a bad one. He beat her so severely that night. He beat her with an iron skillet. She had 48 stitches across the top of her head. Staples, not stitches, they were staples. Both of her eyes were so black, both of them were swollen completely shut. He had cut in her fingers really bad, he cut her neck. He'd broken her nose, her jaw was broke. Stomp foot marks were all on her legs. 4 ribs were broke. Busted lip. And during all this beating, she couldn't get out. The house, when I went to that house, it looked like a murder scene in there, blood. In the kitchen, where he beat her, blood was on the ceiling. It was on the walls, on the blinds. Rugs had chunks of meat on it. The washing machine was full of blood, where he was telling her after he beat her, clean this mess up. The bathtub where he threw her in the shower said, wash yourself up. You're nasty. Had blood where she couldn't even hardly hold herself up. You saw bloody prints on the doorknobs where she was trying to hold herself up. Her mattress was so soaked in blood, it was unreal. Where he made her lay beside him and he tried to sexually assault her that night after he beat her now. She said she couldn't get out because he put the chain lock on the door and her fingers were cut. The other hand's damaged from the burns. She couldn't use that hand. the hand she could use, she couldn't get her hand on the thing because he cut her fingers. So that morning, after bleeding all night and being beaten all night, he finally passed out. That morning, he got up and told her, clean this mess up, look what you did. She said he opened the door to take out a bag of garbage and took the chain off and opened the front door. He took the garbage out. He came back in to get the bag in the back of the house. She ran out the front door and to the front yard. And the neighbor seen her. That's how she got out. She had to have 3 pints of blood transfusion to her. That's how much blood she had lost. Sad thing was, I knew she was going back if I didn't do something. Bonds here, our judges don't do high bonds in this county. They really don't. We think $25,000 is a lot of money. And it is secured. But you have the bondsmen, and they make a living. I'm not putting bad on them. I like all of our bondsmen here. I really do. They're doing a living. So basically, they'll pay them $50 a week, and they'll put up that $25,000 bond for them. You know, so that's how everybody gets out of jail. But anyway, the thing with her, I knew he was going to get out because his family had money on top of it. Just happened that weekend, a judge from Charlotte was down that I was really good friends with when I worked in Charlotte. And I walked in the courtroom and I said, Judge Mercer, I need a favor. I need a bond. Because if not, he's going to kill her. He went out on a misdemeanor charge, because we'd already had the bond set on all the big charges. He had violated the protective order that we had against him by writing her from jail. This is a misdemeanor charge. He gave me $1 million bond on that misdemeanor charge. So he was under $1,500,000 bond now. I knew he wasn't going nowhere. So I had time to work with her finally. And we worked and worked. She got involved in drugs. She got busted for making it. Went to jail, lost everything she had. You know, but we still didn't give up on her. We reached out to some of the drugs. I'm not a drug expert, don't deal with drugs here. Not my expertise, don't know a lot about it, but I knew some people here that help people with drugs. They got her into a facility. They got her detoxed, got her to an 8-month facility she lived in. She doesn't live here no more. She's not coming back here anymore. She lives far away, and she's drug-free, she's sober. She just moved out of this program. She's living in her own house now. And I like it so much because the director of the drug rehab is living across the street from her, so I can always keep an eye on her still. You know, and she is volunteering because she's disabled because of the burn. She is volunteering in a domestic violence shelter, and she's trying to help. And that's a success story. And that took from 06, since I know her, but this abuse was going way before that. From 06, since I've known her, how until now it's taken us to work this long with her. That's what we're working with. You know, so I'm going to touch just a little bit on sexual assault here because I know we're getting close on time. Our rapes here are the good thing for us women to know. I've only had 2 stranger rapes in the 11 years I've been here, okay? Most of it's someone they know. That's usually what our sexual assaults are coming from. You know, I talk to the young people, let them know, when you go to parties or you go to gatherings, don't be sitting your drinks down. Keep a lid on your drink at all times. Even us women, if we go out with our girlfriends, anything, do not be sitting your drinks down because these drugs are being slipped in so fast. Keep a lid on your drinks. Don't accept drinks from people you don't know, even sometimes from people you do know. You know, because this drug will hit you and you won't know it hit you. The next thing you're going to wake up and not even realize what happened to you. It's very serious, these drugs are. And you're not going to see it happen. You know, you're going to be talking and setting your drink down and they've done pulled the lid and then dropped it in there and it's tasteless. It's odorless. And they're finding newer ways with newer drugs to do it to you every time. So be careful where you're setting your stuff down on you. But our sexual assault here, like I said, most of them are people that they know. We've had really one bad one here that was someone you know, and he beat her very severely. It was a little 19-year-old girl, and he beat her, and he's serving 25 years now for this. You know, and it was her boyfriend. She tried to break it off. He'd never been violent with her that she knew of. You know, as far as he had never hurt her. He was controlling, and that's why she wanted out of the relationship. She couldn't go nowhere, you know. He's talking about our young people. We think it's love. And I say again, control is the main word. You start dating someone, and they don't want you to have friends. They don't want you talking to no one else. You know, don't take it as, oh, he loves me so much, he has to spend all his time with me. You know, that's how much he loves me. No, that's him controlling you. You know, like I said, poor Tyler. Your girlfriend works, mom works for domestic violence. You know, they're gonna have trouble. And her daddy's a cop. Oh God. Yeah, hard one. You know, they just have a hard life. But, you know, the thing is, parents talk to your kids. You know, especially young girls that have personal loves that are really hard. Like, oh, he loves me, he don't want me, you know, talking to them. So he wants to spend all his time with me. That's usually not the case. You know, when you see that controlling behavior going on in a relationship with guys or girls, you know, I see guys. I was at a skate rink one time at a birthday party. And my kids were younger, but the kids that were there were about my kids' age now, 13, 14, 15. I seen a young girl go up to a boy and slap him so hard in his face, her handprint was on his cheek. And I remember just standing there going, what just happened? You know, and that boy took it. You know, so it's not, my thing is, as a mother, I would have been like, this girl's crazy. And I tell guys this all the time that are down there at the magistrate's office, and they're like, I was just holding her. She was hitting me. And I tell them, 90% of the time, if you don't get out of this relationship, and she's hitting you, and what happened on this case when I was down there, he took her and he pushed her down and told her to stop. Of course, she got some marks on her hands from the rocks. Guess who's going to jail? He is. And really, he was just trying to defend himself. And I tell guys, get out of it. Because no matter what, they're always going to look at you or their abuser. Now, I have had guy victims. We had one, this girl, she left him with all the children and went off with another guy. Well, then when she wanted to come back, she wanted to come back, and he said no. Well, she started wailing on him. Took a high heel shoe and threw it so hard it went into his arm. You know, and here he was struggling, trying to keep kids, lost his job because he didn't have daycare for his kids now. So she took off. And here he was, a single father, didn't want to ask for help, didn't want to tell people he was being abused by this woman. And he felt ashamed, and I said, why are you ashamed? You're a man. You didn't hit her back. You know, most men are like, I ain't taking up for this, you know, and pushed her. He wouldn't put his hands on her. You know, and so he didn't want to ask for help, but we did help him. We helped him pay his mortgage, get the kids in daycare, until he got his job, he got back on his feet. And he's doing really great now with them kids. I didn't treat him any different than I would treat a woman that needed help. So basically, with our agency, it's happening here in this county. People need to know what's happening here. Probably by the end of the day, we'll probably have already 5 calls of domestic violence in this county. Will we get called on that? Because a lot of times they're going to get called out there and say, we solved it. It's okay. And if we don't see obvious signs, officers don't, there's nothing they can do. You know, they'll say, here's a pamphlet with our number. You know, but domestic violence is not an old crime. A lot of people think it's an old crime. It's not. It's happening. Still today, it's happening. And until we stop abusers from abusing, it's not going to stop. I can provide these services every day. It's not stopping domestic violence. We've got to reach our youth. We've got to tell them what abuse is and tell them not to be putting their hands on each other. That's when we stop it. So, thank y'all for having us. Thank you for your generous support this church has given us. You know, it's been overwhelming. My staff's overwhelmed how much y'all have given to us. You know, with the Bibles, the diapers, oh goodness. The diapers have been a blessing to us. She brought me like, more bags full of diapers. The women were giving the diapers out, you know, and all the stuff that you're doing it means a lot to our agency. So I just want to say thank y'all for it.
And just two quick things. One, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And two, to young ladies, love should never hurt.
Amen.
Thank y'all for having us.
I fully expect that everybody in here probably learned something or heard something that they had not learned or heard before. I sat back there, my heart ached. I don't know about you. I know these are things that we need to hear, but it's not something that you want to hear. It's not something, we're not going to leave here today saying, yes, we were in church, and yes, we had a great. But sometimes, it's just like the old Clint Eastwood movie, you know, it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've got to see and we've got to know all that goes on. And there's nobody immune to this either. Okay? There's not a single person in here that if we were to do just a little bit of background checking, everybody in here has been touched by this in some way, shape, manner, or form. It may not have happened to you, but you don't have to go too far from your family tree to find somebody that it's almost like cancer. It's there, and you don't have to look very far. I want us to take a minute, and I want us to really concentrate on praying about this. But I want to put a bug in your ear, if I can, as far as our church is concerned. And this is not something that we need to be, do anything about at the moment. But I just want to, I guess, make us aware and put us on the record. When the time comes for us to work on the church budget for the new year, I'd like to see us put this domestic violence, sexual assault coalition in our budget to do something, not only that we're doing something as far as giving, but as our sheriff said, to make a monetary contribution. Because the truth of the matter is, if we were to say, and I'm just pulling a rabbit out of the hat here, but if we were to put $30,000 in the church budget for domestic violence and sexual abuse, it would meet a lot of their needs, but it still wouldn't meet them all. But we need to do something. And I am going to talk to my pastor friends, and I'm going to ask them to seriously consider getting involved now, but getting their churches involved from a financial standpoint. There'll never be a time when she can say, y'all done too much, okay? We've got too much money, or we've got too many material needs. Y'all need to slack off. It won't ever be that case. But I'm going to do my best to see what I can do in that regard. So you just remember that, if you will. And thank you, Brother Sheriff. I'm going to call you Brother Sheriff because I heard you give testimony to your Lord the very first thing, and that impressed me. Out of all the other things that our new sheriff could have said, and I say new, I know he's been in office several months now, but he's new to us. Of all the things that he could have said, the very first thing he said was to give credit to his Lord and Savior. That impressed me, brother, and I appreciate that. I really do. So here's what we're gonna do. Because I know the hour's late, and I know that we have other things. We've had some people that going to work or going, and they've already had to leave, and that's fine. I'm gonna ask Landric and Karen, and David, I'm gonna ask you to come up here and stand with your wife. I'm gonna ask the three of them together right here in front of the offertory table. And then once they get up here, I'm gonna ask you, as we've done before with other people, I'm gonna ask you to come up here, and I'm gonna ask you if you can to lay a hand on them. If you can't get close enough to lay a hand on them, then lay a hand on somebody that's got a hand laid on them. And we're gonna specifically pray for them as we dismiss, okay? So if you guys will come up here.